Hello again, I'm glad you decided to join me. I'm going to show you the workout that I use every day to get my day started. It's way better than coffee and a donut. It's a workout that I've been perfecting over the years. I've shown it to many of my patients and they've been very pleased with the results. If you follow along with it and do it consistently, you'll have more energy, you'll be stronger, and you'll be more flexible. And it only takes 15 minutes a day and it's way safer for your joints and muscles than weights. What I recommend is that you start with the workout that I'm going to show you. By the way, if you don't have the resistance cables yet, why don't you order them now? There's a link right below me that you can click on, get your resistance cables, and then come back because you're going to need them for the workout. What I recommend is that you start out with the workout I'm going to show you and then use the principles to customize a workout that does the most for you personally. I'm going to teach you how to work with your body instead of against it so that you'll get the maximum improvement with a minimum of effort. The key to these workouts is what is known as reciprocal inhibition, which is really a very simple concept and it makes perfect sense once you think about it. Let's use the biceps as an example. What the biceps does as it contracts is it moves the forearm closer to the shoulder. Now, on the other side, the agonists with the biceps work with it in order to bring your arm up. The antagonists are what are called the extensors of the arm, mainly the tricep muscle. So if the biceps and the tricep contracted at the same time, it would be a tug of war and you wouldn't be able to move your arm. So what has to happen, and what happens immediately, automatically, is that as soon as you start to contract your bicep, the tricep turns off. Now, the benefit of that is not only does it make it easier to build the bicep muscle, but it makes it much easier to stretch the tricep. And this is the concept we're going to be using with Go Easy Fitness. We're going to be working one group of muscles and at the same time stretching the other group. Because once a group of muscles is relaxed, it's much easier to stretch. And once a group of muscles is contracting, then of course that is strengthening the muscle. So we're going to do opposite things at the same time, which helps not only with the ease and effectiveness of the exercise, but also helps with keeping it to a reasonable amount of time, the amount of time that you actually have, so that you'll be able to do this consistently and actually get the results that you want. So let's start with setting up the equipment. So first, let's talk about safety. You need to periodically check your equipment to make sure that the cables aren't frayed and that the anchor is good and strong. And also, you want to check the door itself to make sure that the latch works so that it doesn't fly open when you actually start to work out. Now, this door does not have a lock on it. It's our office door. But if you have a lock, definitely you have to lock the door. If you don't have a lock on the door, then I suggest that you get one of those door stops. This happens to be a heel lift, but it works just as well. And you put it underneath the door to keep the door from opening. And it's important to keep the door from opening because even though this anchor is tested to withstand 350 pounds of pull, it's not going to withstand any pull once the door is opened. So now take a look at the hinges. Make sure that the hinges on your door are secure. I'll take this out. First, we open the door. We slide it all the way in so that the anchor itself is on the other side of the door. I recommend always using the side of the door with the hinges because it's safer, and also because you can use the hinges to keep the anchor from sliding down when you do certain exercises. So again, you can even this up. These aren't frayed. This is in good shape. You give it a pull to test it. You make sure the door is locked, or you put something underneath the door to make sure that no one can open it. So we're going to start with forward bending. Now we're going to use, for our purposes, for the basic workout, the 6 directions that your body moves in. and that is forward flexion, extension, which is backward. There's left lateral flexion, and there's right lateral flexion. And there's also left rotation and right rotation. And when you look at your body, this is called anatomical position. Your palms are out, so this is the flexion portion. The front part of your body is called the flexion portion of your body. It's the part that curls toward itself, puts you into the fetal position. Extension is the other direction where you're stretching this way. So let's start with a simple flexion movement. Now, you get the cables that I mentioned, you'll have everywhere from 20 pounds to 120 pounds, which is plenty for our purposes. So what you want to do is, you'll have to use trial and error. Now I have 60 pounds on here. Now actually, I'm not going to be stretching it to its 3 times its length, which is where they're rated. So I'll probably be using about 40 or 50 pounds when I do this particular exercise. So what I say, for flexion, you start out away from the door. Now one thing that makes the cables a lot safer than weights is that if you're in the middle of the exercise and realize that you can't do it or something starts to hurt, instead of having to put down a heavy weight, which is where a lot of people do get hurt, all you have to do is step back toward the door and all the tension comes away from the cables. So it's much safer than having to put down a heavy weight when you're already in trouble. So let's start with flexion. Now what we want to do, you're going to find that you get a lot of stretch just by leaning forward. So the first thing that happens is actually your body is going to what's called extension. And this is a stretch. You're stretching your arms, you're stretching your shoulders, you're stretching your lower and middle back, you're stretching your legs. And as you come down now, step back so you get the right position so you can reach the floor. Again, this is going to be trial and error in the beginning. So you come straight down, straight down, straight down. I can feel that in my calves. I can feel it in my hamstrings behind my thighs. And I can feel it in my low back, buttocks. It's a nice, easy stretch. You can hold it as much as you want. You can move your feet slightly so you'll get stretch in different parts of your legs and back. And then you come up slowly. And it's a good idea as you're coming up to just step forward slightly. Again, you stretch up and you can get up on your toes if you like. And come down. Back on your heels. You can feel the effort of going down. You're actually building up your abdominals. I was surprised to see definition in my abdominals from doing this without doing sit-ups or crunches, because even though you're using gravity to get down there, you're being resisted by the bands. So you come like this, and again you can step forward to get a nice stretch in the front part of your body. You can lean forward. Be careful of your shoulders. If you get any shoulder pain from doing this, don't do it as far. Back off a little bit, and you can still stretch. You're stretching forward, bringing it forward. This uses the pectorals. And we're coming up like this. Again, come up. Just hang here for a minute. Let your head hang down. Get some of the tension out of your neck. Pull it down. Again, you may need 80 pounds to do this. You may just be able to do it with 20 or 30 pounds. It doesn't matter. As long as you can get down there and you feel that stretch back in your hamstrings, a moderate stretch, nothing too strenuous. You're doing Go Easy Fitness. I recommend doing 5 of these to start. Now I'm bringing my arms out sideways so I can stretch them this way more. You can also vary it. You can move your arms toward each other. Now I will be doing a workout specifically on the shoulders and the arms. But right now we're just feeling, and just feel where you feel that stretch. And if you feel it in here like I do right now, bring your head down, lean forward. There's no hard and fast rule. It's just when you feel that stretch, if you want a little more of it, you just hold it. And you come back down. And I recommend doing, maybe you'll start out with 5, get up to 10 of these with your workout. Again, it's better to do 2 or 3 properly than to rush through 10. You could also stretch out like this. So that's the flexion portion. Okay, so now we're going to reverse it. We're going to use the extensor muscles, or the muscles in the back of your body. So as we contract them, we will be stretching the muscles in the front. So let's go back and just lean back. Now you see why it's important to check your equipment and to make sure that your door is secure and locked. Because we're going to pull this back a bit, working the muscles in my back. And when I come back here, I'll step even further back, working the back muscles, but now I can feel it in my thighs in the front. The quadriceps are getting a nice stretch from this as the muscles in the back are contracting. Now let's bring it back even more. Now we're getting some flexion in here because I'm using the biceps, but we're getting even more stretch in the front. So we come up like this. Now I find it easier to just come and have my elbows bent, my hands at my side. And I'll show you a variation of this, but now we're working the muscles in the back. Let your neck go back with it. You stretch the muscles in the front of your neck as you come back. Very simple, but very effective in building up your hamstrings, your buttock muscles, your lower back, even your upper back muscles are working as they bring your arms backward. Now another variation is this, I have to step a little closer for this one. You bring your arms over your head and you stretch back this way. You're not getting as much stretch in the legs here, but the lower back muscles are working harder in order to bring you back. It doesn't look like I'm moving as much. There's a reason for that. Normal flexion is about full flexion of the back and the hip flexors is 90 degrees as normal. Some people can get even further, whereas extension of the back is only 30 degrees, so it's 1/3. So you're not going to be moving back nearly as far as when you bend forward. So these are the exercises for this. Also spreading like this, your arms. Now we'll do more of this in the arm and shoulder video, but we'll hold it out now and stretch backward. Hold the arms back. And that's how you do the extension exercises. Coming back. Don't let them pull you up. They will assist you in getting back up though. And so we'll go way back for this one. You could vary the distances. But right now I'm getting quite a stretch all the way down the front of my body. So now that we've finished the extension exercises using the method where you're pulling down from the top, we're going to do a variation where you come up from the bottom. So here we go. First thing that we do is we release the anchor, hook it back to the bottom. And after you do this, remember to relock the door or put the wedge back in underneath. So now with extension, we're bending backward. So you can pull up the body. Now we're using the muscles at the top, the deltoids, to pull on the cable as we're bending backward. Oh, I feel quite a stretch in the quadriceps right now in the front. If I pull back, I can pull forward and stretch backward. Working the muscles in the upper and lower back as we do this. Pulling up, bending backward, and flexing down and stretching this way. You like a little more stretch, just step backward a little bit. You'll get more stretch and you'll get a stronger contraction going backward because there's more resistance. By the way, if you ever get yourself in the position where you realize that the tension or the resistance is too much for you to go from one exercise to the other, then you can either step closer to the door, or you can obviously change the cable, or you can turn it into an isometric exercise where you just hold it and pull and stay in one position. And that will give you a nice workout as well. But for our purposes, with our stretching, because we want to stretch as well, we want to keep the resistance significant enough, but not too significant so that we can't actually move the joint as we're stretching the muscle. And that's a nice stretch there. And now we'll move on to lateral flexion. Now we're going to do lateral flexion. We're going to stretch one side of our body as we contract the muscles on the other. So to do that, make a little alteration here. I'm going to take the anchor out, put it at about shoulder height. Now because we're just really going to be pulling straight across, it's not going to matter. We're not going to really be causing it to slide up and down as we would if we were bending forward, bending backward. And what I would like to do, the reason I particularly like this brand of handle, is that we can take this out, get rid of this one, and we can. Now the limitation of this method is that you can only use one cable at a time. So you may have to buy a stronger cable in order to be able to do this and get the effect. But again, with these cables, as you pull them, if you pull them far enough, generally you can get the effect you want. Now we have a single handle, which makes it much easier. You could hold on to both handles if your hands are big enough. I find this more comfortable, and this is how I do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my arm, pull it straight out, and you should be right about shoulder height. So I'm a little bit high on this. I will lower it down just a little bit, and you can make little adjustments. You know, if you're in a hurry, it's not going to matter all that much, but that's a good, perfect height here. So, arm straight out. Generally, I like to stretch this one out too, and pull this way. Straight across. Pull this way. So what I do is, now this is 40 pounds. I could probably use more like a 60-pound cable. Right now I just have the 40-pound, and that's good enough for our purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just a little bit further and create more resistance in the tube. because even with a 60-pound, I'll probably only get 40 pounds of pull in the distance that I generally use. So here we're just going to stretch it out a little more, like stretching this arm out so my arms are parallel, and then we just go straight across and let it pull you back and go straight across. And I also move my head away as we're stretching and toward the door as we're pulling. So now I'm working the neck muscles. I'm both stretching and strengthening them, and I'm using the muscles on the side of my leg. The transverse abdominals, which are the muscles on the side of your abdomen, are getting a nice workout too. And you're getting that stretch from your shoulder. And we go back and forth with this. If you get any low back pain, you get any pain anywhere in your body when you do this. If it's a sharp pain, then just stop. Don't go into pain. It's not going to help. If you've got a sharp pain, you're just irritating it. As opposed to the kind of pain you get when you're stretching a muscle that hasn't been stretched for a while, or you're contracting a muscle that hasn't been contracted for a while. You feel that pull. That's a good thing. That's the good pain. Okay, now that's this side. Now let's just switch. So now we've done lateral rotation to the right and left, we've done flexion, we've done extension. Now we're going to do rotation. So the one-handed method is the best, and it's at the right height, just the same as the lateral bending. Now, again, you're going to be careful of your knees when you do this, because knees aren't meant to twist. So I want you to move your knees as you do the rotation. I'll show you how we do that. So we're just going to twist. We're going to turn the knees with it, and look over back at the door. And get a nice twist. Then let it pull your arm backward, step forward, and twist again. Now it's stretched. Very easy. Watch the shoulder when you do it. If it's too much, step back. Just let it stretch very gently. Stretch the front. Stretch your chest, stretch your arm. There we go, we hold it. So when we turn, make sure that you turn your feet so that there's no twisting of your knees. So that could really hurt your knee. So you twist, and as you're moving, you turn with it. Turn your knees, let it twist around you. And again. Stretch, turn. Of all the directions, this is probably the most awkward to get the hang of. And you bring your arm out, and you're stretching again. So what you're doing here is you're contracting muscles, and you're stretching the same muscle after you've contracted it. Let's try it from the other side. Start here, bring your arm around. You're turning your head, you're just twisting. It's basically a spinal twist, if you've done yoga, with some resistance. I find the resistance is very good. It makes it much easier for me than yoga. And you're getting the same benefit. So you're twisting, you're coming out, taking a step out, twisting again, letting it stretch, step back, and twist. And you can vary the numbers of repetitions you do. You can concentrate on areas that you need to work on. And that's basically your morning workout. Of course, you can do it in the afternoon or evening. You can do it once a day, you can do it twice a day. But consistency is the key. Now again, I'm going to be doing other modules where we're going to show specifically workout for the upper body, workout for the legs, abdominals, lower back. This is the beginning. This is the core exercise routine. This is what you want to do on a daily basis. And then from here, you can add things. You can do other things. There are other kinds of equipment that is sold by this company, which I really like because they're very innovative. And we'll get into that as we go along. So thanks for joining me. And if you have any questions or problems, my email address is below the video here. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have or help you through any difficulties. Thanks again for joining me in Go Easy Fitness.